Australia's labour market held firm in May, defying expectations despite a modest decline in job numbers. For more, we are joined from Sydney by Steve Gopalam from Scanter X. Good to see you. Obviously watching what's happening and that turbulence in Australia and overseas. But Australia's job market holding steady in May. What's your read on this?
Good morning, Aaron. Thanks a lot for having me this morning. Yeah, quite interesting seeing the Aussie jobs data yesterday. What was interesting to see was the unemployment level stayed the same, 4.1%. But in saying that, we also saw that the number of jobs added was slightly below expectations. Look, it's not going to be a huge market event for RBA watchers. The RBA is expected to meet in 8th of July, where I think a 25 basis point cut is almost 80% priced in. I guess it's not going to be, this jobs data was not so much of importance that I would say that RBA is probably going to move the needle. Given all the fraction and developments happening in the Middle East, and also seeing other central banks such as the Fed and BOE applying a bit of pause, I'm also starting to think that could this mean that RBA might be on hold this particular event? Look, we've got a couple of more days to go. We've got a couple of more important data coming up. I'm sure the RBA is going to be across this. One thing that was quite interesting to see was the participation levels as well. We've seen a massive uptick in female participations as well, so that's good. So it looks like a lot of mums getting back to full-time employment as well.
Yes, obviously we have always had doubts about the reliability of the unemployment details because obviously it's people who are searching for work, not necessarily unemployed people. Talk to us about that factor here.
Look, I mean, the way ABS measures unemployment is also a bit tricky as well, or full-time employment, sorry. So, when they do data is always lagging. I think also when they take that into consideration, they also look at part-time. If someone's worked only probably 2 days, is also considered to be full-time as well. So the way that is calculated is always also a little bit misleading. But back to the RBA itself, because our jobs has been robust, the economy's been pretty strong. Look, RBA is actually in a very good position compared to the rest of the world, right? So we do not actually necessarily need to go out there and cut rates just to satisfy homeowners or property magnates. But in saying that, what's interesting is that it's good to see that even though inflation is coming off, our jobs data or the jobs that's been added is steady, which means that we're able to accommodate more and more new immigrants coming into the country. And I understand not everyone's getting the best jobs, but still they are able to find some sort of employment, whether it's part-time, casual, or even,
Well, I mean, I guess the issue is that if we are believing that things are fine because the unemployment rate, and yet it is, if 2 days work is the equivalent to full-time, that isn't taking into account that the business has probably put someone down to 2 days because at the moment they don't have the money to pay them for 5 days. And that is definitely something the RBA should be taking into consideration, isn't it?
100%, you're spot on that front. That's something that RBA will be into consideration as well. But once again, what's keeping RBA awake at night is, I'm assuming, it's predominantly not to do with unemployment. It's also what's happening overseas, and the inflation costs that's going to come on the back of tariffs, or even with this Middle East tensions. That's just means that our prices of oil is going to go up, and naturally that's an input to inflation as well.
Yeah, very much so. And talk to us about underemployment at the pre-COVID levels in the labour market and why it's tighter than it appears.
Yeah, I mean, before COVID, employment was quite steady. We saw the amount of people applying for jobs or even getting jobs was, pretty matched evenly. It was an even playing field. Then during COVID, we saw a massive amount of jobs being slashed and all the stuff. And then we saw a bit of resurgence just after we came back from lockdowns and all the stuff. It was more of an employees market, so to speak. But once again, now that's moved towards the employer. So it's a bit of ping pong between employee and employer. I guess what the challenge business owners are saying is that they are unable to meet the right demand for their skill. So, so in some cases they just don't have the right person fit for the role, and that's another reason why they're not going actively and spending more money. And again, most businesses are trying to cut costs most of the people that we speak to on a daily basis, they are looking to not take too much risk on. They're not looking for too much of expansion. And when we question them why, I think it all comes down to they can't find the right people. So one of the in capital input to successful economy or successful business is obviously human capital. And if they can't find the right people for the right job, they just can't get the right output.
It's such an interesting thought, isn't it, that businesses are in such a difficult place at the moment that they're not willing to take a risk on the wrong person and they're kind of waiting for the right person to come along. It reminds me of a few of my spinster friends in their 50s who can't find the right person. But I think that the issue there is that we have a country which just isn't willing to take any risks at the moment from business, and we are seeing more and more people, and this is a problem with the unemployment rate. So many people are now working for the government.
Yeah. Look, business investment has completely slowed down. I mean, you speak to a lot of business owners yourself, and if you do ask them that one question, how much have you spent in your business this year or in the last 2 years? Many of them will report saying they're just going status quo. Having Trump as a president, I'm sure it doesn't help the situation either because of a lot of
But also
challenges
not
that,
just him. I mean,
it's
domestically,
interrelated.
you've got interest rates that have been high. You've got uncertainty about what Labor's going to do, come up with in their second term for business IR rules and things like that as well. And then you've got AI in the background too, which no doubt is. I feel like a lot of businesses, from we speak to a lot, obviously here at Ticker, they're just aquaplaning at the moment. They're kind of moving, but they're not in control of their direction. Appears to be the situation. But we have to leave it there. I'm afraid we're out of time, Steve. But we'll talk to you again
Just
soon.
one point on that.
Yeah, sure.
Interestingly, as you mentioned, AI, it is game changer. I mean, a lot of jobs. We're seeing a lot of software skills like coders, for example.
Yeah.
Most of their jobs are going to be easily replaced by AI. So, no, it's a good point that you brought up.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.